Okay, let's get into some fantasy football talk. And in particular, we are getting to NFL Best Ball strategy for the 2026 season. Yeah, it's here. Yeah, big board contests have been launched on Underdog and for about a week now, a little more than a week. And they're in full swing, right? The rooms are filling up fast. Everybody's excited. The community's excited. I mean, we got a great community, this best ball community. And so we want to go ahead and discuss our best ball strategy, our hot takes, our top picks of the players, the NFL players we're going to like this year, right? The NFL draft is coming up as well. And so we want to provide our roadmap to week 17. Yes, we are trying to go straight for the moolah. And so, yeah, we got no chasers, no fillers, no cap, no damn gimmicks. Are gentle and blissful, gifted and beautiful, generous and benevolent, and most appreciatively, we are grateful and blessed. This is your boy Q, aka Yuungmoolahh, at Guidelines to Achieve Build GAB Sports. So let's just go ahead and hop right into the video, dig deep into some strategy, right? Because we are a strategist. Yeah, that's the number one goal, is to develop our strategy and execute to perfection in these contests. And so we're going to just share a little bit of our mindset right now with you. You are roadmap to week 17, our best ball strategy, blueprint for all of our pre-draft best ball contests. And before we get into the meat and potatoes of this presentation, just want to go ahead and thank you all for joining us and welcome to GAB Sports. It's your boy Yuungmoolahh. Yes, please just go ahead and take the time to follow us on social media, GAB for Young on X as well as Instagram. Also, like and subscribe to the channel here at GAB Sports. We definitely appreciate your support as we continue to grow this channel. All right, so just going to go ahead and see what this is all about. Right. Yes, this is our roadmap to week 17, volume 2, linear thinking outside the box. Yeah, I think I just want to say I'm a strategist, man. I'm a general, man. I come up with the blueprints to try to win the war. I'm not trying to just win today. I'm trying to win the whole enchilada, man. We trying to win the prize, man. We trying to plant the flag, in the capital city, man. We trying to take over, man. This is what this is about. So with that kind of mindset, I'm thinking long term. I'm thinking, how can I win these contests, right? And so before I just, really jump into the drafts wholeheartedly, right? Because this is an ever evolving process, as we mentioned before. And mine, right? And I determine what is my purpose for drafting right now. And I believe if you don't have a purpose right now for drafting, then you're just drafting. You're just out there like a ship sailing in the night with no destination. You're just on an aimless voyage into the abyss, right? But we're drafting with a purpose here at GAB Sports, and that's what I want to impart to you. And with that, linear thinking isn't complex. It's pretty much logical thinking. The definition of linear: arranged in or extending along a straight or nearly straight line, progressing from one stage to another in a single series of steps, i.e., sequential, right? So linear thinking is something that is very critical for me in this stage of best ball, right? I gotta think clearly. I gotta think, how do I get from this point to that point to the final destination, right? Yeah, you got to be in it to win it, right? This is called the roadmap to week 17. Week 17 is the final. So guess what? To get to week 17, we have to get out of the pod, right? And in big board contests, always keep your eyes on the goal. And the goal is to advance out of your pod, right? There's 3 teams that will come out of the pod, 3 out of 12, right? That's pretty good odds, right? That's 25% chance that we got to come out of this pod. So don't set yourself up for failure from the start, is my point. Give yourself a shot to get to the end by getting out of the first phase, the first round, right? But also we want to compound this linear thinking with outside the box thinking. And thinking outside the box becomes a little bit more dimensional, right? Linear is more two-dimensional thinking, pretty straight line, connected dots. But outside the box, you got to combine some thoughts and some strategies and some maneuvers that may be unique to just you, right? Yeah, out of 200,000 people, you might be the only one doing this. And yeah, I'll give a shout out to a guy, Gritty. Hit him with the Gritty. I mean, I'm not copying his style or nothing, but I admire that he's out doing his own thing. He's in his own lane. Anybody who knows best ball knows what I'm talking about. And shout out to you, buddy. Don't know you, but I know your style. I've been in plenty of pods with you, and I see your posts. And so, he's in his own lane, right? With his strategy of going with these multiple elite quarterbacks. And actually, this year, shit, this year might be he might be onto something this year with the quarterback prices, but they're not spending the same capital, but it's just something to consider. But anyway, outside the box, playing chess while others are playing checkers, right? And so outside the box thinking is unconventional. It's non-standard, and it's also atypical, not ordinary. Those are the types of things we think of when we think about outside the box, right? Contrarian. That's kind of what you're saying. So my whole approach is combining these two mindsets into one. And then that way, I believe I'll be able to reach my goals. That's week 17, where I have a chance to take down the whole enchilada. It's our roadmap. All right, we're going to bring you another top 5 list. And this time, we're coming with our top 5 linear thinking outside the box actions. Yes, to execute some of these actions and principles in order to gain a potential edge against the field. That's why we do this, right? Nothing more, nothing less. And so this is how we're going to implement some of our strategies, and it's with a calculated approach, right? Okay, so coming in number 5, linear thinking outside the box action, utilizing contrarian draft strategies. This one was obvious, right? And so we'll put this at number 5. Yeah, in any large field contests, you know, if you're trying to get those 0.5, 0.3, 0.2% outcomes, which is the top of the standings to win all the money, yeah, you got to come with some sort of contrarian strategies at some point, right? Not, you don't have to be contrarian at every position, every point, but you got to come with some sort of strategies that are just different than everybody, right? When you see the masses doing all the same thing, like right now, right? They're going one down one lane, you got to zigzag to another lane, right? And right now, the masses are just going heavy with the RB early approach. The robust, the superhero type running back approaches are filtrating all over the landscape. And if you try a zero RB strategy, which most people are just dismissing, right? I mean, there's people outright rejecting this strategy, right? saying that it's dead. I'm here to tell you that no strategy is dead in such large field contests. Yeah, it's your sample of these large field best ball contests to where any strategy is viable as long as it's, you're using the player pool in a different way that other people will be using the same player pool. So I just don't look at any strategies being unusable in order to get to the end, which is the goal, get to the end, right? Because that uniqueness, those unique roster constructions that you're going to get from maybe doing like a zero RB. I just going back to last year, I had a one tight end build that got to week 16. It was one of those builds where you just knew it was going to be different because you got the one tight end. Everybody's kind of scared. That had the one tight end build, and one of them almost got to the finals. Right, the other one was Brock Bowers, and he got hurt. But anyway, don't be afraid to experiment because the uniqueness in your constructions is going to be a potential edge toward the end when everybody kind of has the same approach, and you're going to be in pods with all these teams that have, you know, these strong, robust running back builds, and then you come with this unique roster construction of maybe 3 running backs and 2 tight ends, or you got a zero RB, and the next thing you know, you could be advancing while they're sitting here one scratching their head of what happened. Well, you had a unique approach that gave you an edge over the field, and you smashed the picks, right? With the proliferation of all these RBBCs throughout the league, most backfields are gonna be split, right? There's only a few that aren't, right? And so if everybody's focusing on those running backs that aren't in the split backfields, there's opportunity for value and also an opportunity for a different roster construction if you bypass some those early running backs in some rosters and do a zero RB and get some of these committee backs who could take over like a J.K. Dobbins did versus R.J. Harvey, and like Rico Dowdle did versus Chuba Hubbard. So these types of things happen. So don't dismiss zero RB, number one, or any other unique kind of roster constructions that can give you a potential edge. Coming in at the fourth best linear thinking outside the box action, we are going with Stackola for the payola. Yeah, I hear a lot of talk about people not wanting to stack, right? Stacking is not the thing to do this early in the contest, in the big board. And there may be some data that shows that stacking hasn't been the winning lineup per se. But again, in a 6-year sample size, that's not enough data points to say that stacking does not work. I think the fear maybe with stacking is that you just want to have such a mix of players that you're throwing more darts at the board per se by having less stacking in your lineups. But I'm going to take the opposite approach. I'm doing quite a bit of stacking right now. I'm going quarterback plus threes, quarterback plus fours. I'm looking for some rosters where I can do that. Like I said, I got a mix of my portfolio. I don't want to just have one line of thought in my portfolio. And stacking to me is an edge because I think a lot of people aren't into stacking right now. And yeah, explosive teams, feel free to go quarterback plus three, quarterback plus four on these explosive teams because it could pay off. Right? You never know because you will be again slightly contrarian, and also when you build these multi stacks, correlate with the divisional opponents, right? So you can get some run back in a couple of games here, right? So you may hit the nuts on and get a good matchup in the in the playoffs, right? Which will lead to us our next linear thinking outside the box action is correlate utilizing scheduled opponents. Yeah, I'm actually doing this, pretty involved in doing this right now. And what this means, because I thought about this quite a bit, is say you got a preferred stack of a team. And I'll use a perfect example because I've done this already. The Ravens, right? The Baltimore Ravens. who are in the AFC North, right? And I've looked at the scheduled opponents for each division, and the AFC North happens to play two of the better divisions for fantasy purposes this year, this upcoming year. They have the NFC South and the AFC South. Teams in those divisions aren't the strongest teams in the league. These are probably the two, I would say, friendliest teams to play, the divisions to play in the league as far as fantasy purposes, right? And I think the Ravens are the team, and the Bengals out of that AFC North. Those are the better offenses that could exploit this, right? So, in building these types of rosters, the point is to surround those particular stacks with multiple players you've identified on those two throughout those two divisions, the AFC South and the NFC South. Combine those with Ravens stacks, Bengals stacks. Hey, if you want Cleveland stacks, Steelers stacks, whatever. But those divisional correlations can end up paying off by uh, landing on a matchup in week 15, week 16, week 17. You might have multiple matchups, right? Because this is the linear thinking, right? The linear part are the opponents on the schedule, right? That's the line. And the intersecting part, right, are the weeks, the y-axis. And so at some point, you're bound to intersect in week 15, 16, 17 if you're implementing these strategies across the board of this type of a correlating strategy. One mode of thinking that I've tried to execute here, and it's worth a try, right? I'm looking for any potential edge that I can get. And so correlate utilizing scheduled opponents is that potential edge. Coming in as the number 2, top 5 linear thinking outside the box action. That was a mouthful. We have rookie infatuation, which steering clear of the infatuation of the rookies. Yeah, I don't want no part of having a ton of rookies on my rosters. Even though I have 20 roster spots, I'm limiting the exposure of rookies on each build. To be maybe 3 rookies at most that I put on one roster. And there's reasons for this, right? One, I believe this is one of the weakest rookie classes in a long time. So I'm not really excited to go running out and get some of these rookies and just load them up on my team. 5, 6, 7 rookies on one team. No, I don't think that's plus EV here in any way. And I think that you will more often get into trouble trying to get these rookies in those kind of quantities on one build than you will have success. These rookies, and almost every rookie, every year, they're landing spot dependent. And guess what? Over the past 2 years, you've had a very deep wide receiver class 2 years ago. And just this past season, a very deep running back class came into the NFL. Right? So these young players are already established in their respective teams to where there aren't a lot of openings for this incoming weaker class to step into a great role, right? They're going to be fighting just to get any snaps. Most of these rookies, there's only 2 rookies, Fernando Mendoza and Jeremiah Love, who will almost assuredly step into a starting role. That's the only 2 guys. Everybody else is going to be fighting just to get any playing time. Yeah, you might get a few snaps, or you might get a tertiary role, not even a secondary role. The depth around the league right now, the running back and wide receiver positions are at one of its highest points that there has been in a while. There aren't a lot of openings, not a lot of job openings in the NFL this year, if you want to look at it that way. But I just think that, yeah, the rookie landscape this year is is a little softer. And so my rookie infatuation this year, it's not high. So take it as you will. That's just my approach. I think that I'll be served well with this approach. On the final linear thinking outside the box action, the number one item on the list is follow the tea leaves. Yeah, let's follow the tea leaves, man. If you're feeling like, and based on information you've gathered, and also gathering this information from credible sources, if you're getting some information and you're leaning towards a certain situation developing where some players might land either through free agency or the draft, you should act upon that because uh, we're in an environment and in a contest where predicting things can give you a leg up in these contests, right? So you have to be able to try to anticipate and predict, you know, certain outcomes based on player movement, right? Common point, of course, in free agency where player movement will be decided, right? People will sign and things like that, and there will be a draft eventually, but not for this contest. You won't get to the draft. Also, when free agency does happen, that's going to change the ADPs of guys, right? So if you're trying to get a jump on the masses in a landing spot of a particular guy, go ahead and do it and incorporate, connect the dots into your drafting, right? Say if you think a guy like we know Clint Kubiak is going to the Raiders, right? And what else does that entail? Well, a lot of times when guys go to new destinations, they bring a couple, bring along some comrades, right? And a guy that it's maybe a little known right now. A little more speculation on this already, so it's nothing new that I'm breaking here. But a guy like Rashid Shaheed has been at his last two stops, right? There's a connection there. When Clint Kubiak was with the New Orleans Saints, Shaheed, he was featuring this guy for a while, right before he got hurt. He was utilizing this guy pretty heavily. Then he goes over to Seattle, and they trade for Rashid Shaheed, right? And so coming to the Raiders, Clint Kubiak, far-fetched idea that he brings Rashid Shaheed, who's a free agent, with him, who knows the offense. Familiarity is a lot of is very highly valued by coaches, right? They like to have dudes who understand their principles, understand their concepts, because it speeds up the learning curve for everyone else when somebody knows what they're doing out there, right? So in connecting that dot, why not just build you a full Raider stack? Bowers, Mendoza, and then you tack on Shaheed and maybe Besh or something at the end, right? And so you get like a Mendoza plus 3, but you're speculating by following that tea leaf on Shaheed, and you may have some unique stacks and unique combos that other people aren't really thinking about, and you're getting them at pretty decent prices right now. So follow the tea leaves. That's coming in as our top linear thinking outside the box action. And we'll go ahead and end it at that. And I'm going to have fun executing these strategies. I'm a strategist. So we're going to execute these actions in our contest right now. We're going to slide into our pre-draft best ball targets. We're going to give one player at each position who we've been just smashing here. Our top quarterback target is Jaden Daniels, right? Why? When I started off pre-draft best ball and I looked at the ADPs and I saw Jaden Daniels coming in at 75, first guy I circled, first guy I highlighted. That is a criminal price for a quarterback who could be a top 1, 2, 3 finisher at the quarterback position. He's coming in at ADP 75. Are you kidding me? Yes, his current ADP 66.7, still criminally underpriced is Jaden Daniels. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and ride this one. I am loading up. When I say loading up, I only got 15 drafts, but 2/3, 66 to 75%, 2/3 to 3/4 exposure to Jaden Daniels, no doubt. And at this price, I'm gonna keep hammering. I think this guy should be at an ADP of around 53, 54. That's a pretty fair price, I would say. But anything above that is underpriced severely. So we're hammering Jaden Daniels. He's an elite dual threat quarterback. You don't get that coming in off the board as what QB what? I didn't find out which QB he is in the order, but if I'm guessing, estimating he's like QB 7, 6, something like that. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna take that value and run with it every time. So as I said, top three finish is within reach. Jaden Daniels, criminally undervalued. All right. What's the downside? He does have pedestrian weapons on board right now. Doesn't have a really good tight end. I think Ertz is retiring, and even if he doesn't, he's not any good anymore. He's pretty slow. He's pretty old, and they don't have really great weapons out of the backfield in the passing game. McNichols, okay. Eckler coming off of a serious injury, and he's aging. And outside right now, they just pretty much have Terry McLaurin, a bunch of young, unproven guys, and maybe Debo, who may not even be brought back. So they're gonna need to upgrade the weapons a little bit. But even so, whatever they do bring in, the guy that's pulling the trigger is the marquee guy anyway, who elevates the team. And so Jaden Daniels is one of our primary targets here, early season best ball. And one of our top targets at the running back spot. We're gonna go with this guy. Come on in. Here he comes. Who's that? Wow, it's that guy. We forgot about this guy, didn't we? Yeah, I almost did too until I just kept going through the ADPs early and I saw he started off around 200. 200 for the potential of a Jonathan Brooks. Sign me up because that is a flyer price. And for flyers, when you're taking, a dart, flyer, dart, however you want to call it, I'm calling it a flyer. When I'm throwing a flyer out there on a guy who is a flyer, right? Meaning he's got explosion. This is what you want. You want the cheap guy who can just possibly bring you the goods, right? I mean, this guy can actually deliver if he's healthy, right? We know that. That's the big elephant in the room, right? And so Jonathan Brooks coming in at a current ADP of 177, an explosive dude on a team that lacks explosion. So if this guy is anywhere near back to any kind of form or health, he's going to get every chance to be out on the field and show that explosive ability. And he's ultra cheap for this type of upside and potential. It's just that simple. So yeah, I'm spending plenty of darts on Jonathan Brooks right now. He's one of my top targets. I have no bones about it because I will take that kind of a risk for this type of potential payout. The downside, obviously, injury prone, right? He's back to back ACL tears in the consecutive years, and that has to be an obvious concern. But he's a young guy, and knowing that ACL tears are things that you can recover from, even multiple ones. Um, just hopefully that he just strengthens that knee or the knees or whatever, and comes back to full health, right? Because it's been 2 years, so he sat out all last year. So my assumption is he's going to be healthy coming into the season. I'm just going to assume that. That's how I'm going to assume a rehab this long from ACL tears. I'm assuming he's healthy. Now, will he ever recapture that same explosion and that same promise? Who knows? But it's worth a gamble at this price. There's undetermined competition. They may re-sign Rico Dowdle, who knows, or they may bring in another guy because I don't know if they can bank on this guy. But if they are slow to start signing people, That could be a good sign for this guy. It may mean that they see some things that he's looking strong and whatever. But I do eventually think they'll bring in somebody. We'll just have to see who that somebody is. But Jonathan Brooks is our one of our top targets that we are looking at right now. Okay, moving over to the receiver position. One of our top targets that we're definitely looking to exploit the field right now. And this guy, you've heard of this guy for sure. Yeah, you know who this is. Yeah, Just Jettis. Hit him with the gritty, he said. Hit him with the gritty. I'm sure you are loading up on this dude. Hit him with the gritty is. And I'm right there with you, fella. Because at this price, current 16.1 ADP, yes, we are hammering Justin Jefferson when we're at the tail end of the draft. No doubt about it. Why? He's Justin Jefferson. No other question needs to be asked. And going at 16, you know, that's potential great value. Justin Jefferson going here. A guy who has proven that he can be a top 4 or 5 receiver year in, year out. He has one bad year and we're just plummeting him down to second round. Okay, I'll take it. Why not? Because there's upside there, right? And the current price to me right now is the lowest you're going to get all off season. Because once free agency hits, and here's my stance on this. They just fired their GM, right? Why? Mainly because he did not listen to the coach, reportedly, when the coach was telling him that JJ McCarthy was not ready to assume, the lead quarterback spot. So they passed on Aaron Rodgers. Remember, Aaron Rodgers was begging to go to Minnesota all off season, literally begging. He wouldn't sign for so long. He's waiting on Minnesota to get back to him. And they were waffling, right? And so they eventually didn't sign this guy. So he signed with um, Pittsburgh. But anyway, they fired the GM. This is letting me know they are definitely addressing the quarterback situation. It's not a question. They're not coming back with McCarthy as the only guy. I'm not saying he's going to be benched. Maybe there's competition, or maybe they go out and get a Mac Jones as the starter. If Mac Jones comes here, he's coming here as the starter. If Rodgers decides to come here because he wanted to so badly last year, if he comes here, he's coming here as the starter, right? So they will address the quarterback position in some fashion. And I look for Justin Jefferson to bounce back. Yes, at this price, it's criminal. And our downside case is that, okay, the current quarterback situation is not good. And say, what if they bring in, say, Malik Willis, Mariota? I think those dudes are even better than McCarthy is right now. But it's not as hopeful, as exciting, you know, as if they were bringing a Mac Jones or Aaron Rodgers. But they're gonna address the situation. That's the bottom line. But the current situation is not good, so that's why the price is depressed, I believe, right now because of this situation. And I was reaching for things to try to come up with as a downside. He's in the toughest division in football. Now, does that totally hurt him being an offensive player that just I'm in the toughest division? Not necessarily, but these are some tough teams sometimes you have to play, and they know how to play against a team with some limitations, especially as quarterback. So there you have the two downside cases, which to me are going to be addressed or not come into play as much. So there we have it. Our top target receiver right now, Justin Jefferson. Yeah, I'm loading up. Tight end. Let's see who we got at tight end. It's a guy I absolutely love this year. Yes, this guy right here. Yeah, Harold Fatman Jr. coming for your Cleveland Browns. Yeah, a lot of people out here, yeah, they don't like this guy. They think he's overvalued for this price. I look at it the opposite. I think he's undervalued at this price. So I'm gonna go on record. It's early, so I can come with a hot take right now. Because I believe in this one. Harold Fannin will perform Very close, if not outperform Colston Loveland. Yeah, you heard it here. Yeah, that Colston Loveland, the one who lit it up down the stretch because Roma Dunze was out, right? Partly. So Harold Fannin is the dude here in Cleveland. He's the number one option in the passing game. Okay? Uh, his arrow is pointing straight up. This guy's a star in the making. Yeah, I've seen enough. Runs great routes, gets great separation, has great hands, is a playmaker once he gets the ball in his hands. Yeah. And Monken, the new head coach, is going to be calling plays. Monken is a tight end genius. I mean, he implements the tight end as well as any coach in the league, bar none. Look at his resume at Georgia when he had all those tight ends coming to the league and he was utilizing all of them and they were all getting busy. Then he goes to Baltimore. He's utilizing 2, 3 tight end sets on a regular and having success with Likely and Andrews and Kolar. This guy knows how to utilize the tight end. So damper on the shine here is that they could bring Njoku back based on the fact that this guy, Monken, loves to utilize the tight end. It's possible they could bring Njoku back. And that would actually, put a little dent in the expectation here for Harold Fannin, but who knows? Coming in at an ADP of 75, I'm still just banking that they probably do not bring Njoku back based on price. And there's an unsettled or unproven quarterback situation, but it appears that Monken likes your centers. So I think that he's going to go ahead and back this guy and build him up. And I look for the Cleveland Browns. Actually, they're one of my undervalued offenses. So I think they'll be a lot better than teams expect. And Harold Fannin is one of our top targets right now in best ball. All right, so there we have it. We're going to wrap this episode up, Volume 1, on our roadmap to the Yes, yes, yes. So we go ahead and end our roadmap to week 17, volume 2. Linear thinking outside the box. Yeah, just want to go ahead and just present some thoughts out here to get these thoughts out here into the cyberspace and to go ahead and just embrace the community at large. Yeah, because we're coming, man. We come these strategies. Let's get busy. And yeah, I like learning from everybody, right? So, and I don't mind teaching. I don't mind learning. I don't mind sharing ideas. But in the end, this is a competition. Much love and respect to everybody out here generating this content in this space. But thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. And good luck to everyone on your way out. Please take the time to like the video, subscribe to the channel here, GAB Sports, and please follow us on social media at GAB4Young. That's GAB, the number 4, YUUNG. And feel free to leave a comment. Yes, you do like comments, like dialogue. All right. So we'll go ahead and sign out right here. We'll go ahead and jump into some live drafts by the end of the week. That's the plan. And see you in these best ball streets. All right. Peace.